So it's a collection video, first in a series I'm hoping to do where I show off my entire physical media collection. This is going to be a massive endeavor for multiple reasons. Obviously, I own a ton of movies, but also my movies are in all these different locations, and I have this very kind of personalized organization system that makes a lot of sense to me, but maybe wouldn't make a lot of sense to other people. I've been wanting to do a complete collection video for a really long time, and I haven't done it for multiple reasons. One is that my Hong Kong stuff and my Japanese stuff is separate from the rest of my movies. The Hong Kong stuff I have so much of that it's actually like in 3 different places. It's in like, some of it's in a shelf, some of it's in a closet, some of it's in a basement, just in boxes. I have thousands of DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever. It was hard for me to wrap my head around the idea of like, how can I do a collection video when I have so much stuff in so many different places? And then it occurred to me that I should break it up into pieces and focus on sections of my collection and then kind of get through it a little bit at a time in a series of videos, which I thought might be kind of fun. So today we're doing box sets. And this is not Hong Kong, not Japanese. So there's European films in here and there's American films in here. And I think that's mostly it. I'm gonna do a separate video with my Japanese box sets. The Hong Kong videos might be a little bit late in coming, even though I know this is a Hong Kong channel. That might be the last set of videos I do because there are so many of those films and they're kind of scattered. So let's get right into this video. Box sets. I'm not exactly sure how to start because I have a lot of them, but I've sort of organized them. So let's just start with this because this is one of my favorite film series of all time. And this is a really nice box set that I realized has some dust on it. It's James Bond, the 007 set. So this came out before No Time to Die was released. So that film is not in here, but it has all of the other James Bond films. And this would be a great place to mention Mike. Mike, who edits all these videos and does all the thumbnails for YouTube and is my partner in this channel and helps me with all the ideation and stuff like that. And we have channels that we run together. And Mike gave this to me for my birthday maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So here we have 1962 to 1977. There's a list of all the films that are in there. A lot of my favorite Bond films are in this set. Let me see how many of my top 10 are in this set. 1, 2, 3... 4, at least 4, maybe 5 that I would put in my top 10 are on this set. So here we go. As you can see, it's not like super fancy, but these are really nice. Like they were rescanned. The movies look really good here. I watched a documentary on the Dr. No disc about like the remastering of that film. It's really interesting. There's a lot of bonus material on this set. This is an amazing set for like a James Bond fan. Now, obviously these films now are in 4K, and I believe there's like fewer films in each of the 4K sets. Like I think maybe they did the Connery years and then they did Roger Moore, and they're really expensive, which makes sense. I get it, but whatever. I don't have those. I just have this Blu-ray set. These are the Daniel Craig films, which are my least favorite James Bond films, but the Daniel Craig ones are kind of this double-edged sword for me because I don't really like any of them as a movie. Not all the way through. Like there are sections of Casino Royale I think are fantastic. I think the first half of Skyfall is pretty incredible. But the Daniel Craig movies were hugely successful, so they did a lot for the franchise to keep it, in the public consciousness and to keep it making money and stuff like that. They're just not my favorite films. So that's the Bond collection. We're doing an informal video. I got my donut coffee mug. I do it. I love one of my favorite dad jokes is every time I drink coffee out of this mug, I walk into the other room where my kids are and I'm like, hey, does anybody want a donut? I have 3 of them. And they're like, oh my God, it's a mug. This is not funny, Dad. And it cracks me up every time. The dogs are going nuts right now. Maybe you can hear that. Maybe you can't. It's distracting to me, but I don't know what you can and can't hear. We have a Clint Eastwood 20 film Blu-ray set, which I've never even opened. As you can see here, we are getting a lot of glare because I've got a lot of light in this room, but I thought that would be a good place to film. And also partially, like I said, because this is still wrapped. This has Dirty Harry, Magnum Force, The Outlaw, Josie Wales, The Gauntlet, Every Which Way But Loose, Firefox, Sudden Impact, Pale Rider, Heartbreak Ridge, Unforgiven, A Perfect World, Space Cowboys, Mystic River, $1 Million Baby, Letters from Iwo Jima, Gran Torino, Invictus, Hereafter, J. Edgar, Trouble with the Curve, The Eastwood Factor, Eastwood Directs, The Untold Story. There's a 48-page booklet in here. This was given to me by F.J. DeSanto relatively recently when I most recently interviewed him, which was a couple months ago, which is why this is still not open yet. What should we do next? Let's do Tolkien. I am a huge Tolkienverse fan, and my older son has gotten really into the Tolkien stuff as a result of me. I got the Lord of the Rings Blu-ray set here, extended editions. as you can see there. And then we pop this out. So I've watched these all. I mean, I don't even know how many times I've seen Fellowship of the Ring. If you want to hear a fun story about me, here's a little personal lore. I saw Fellowship of the Ring 4 times on its first theatrical run. During that time, Daniel Tosh performed at my university. I was a freshman in college at the time. And these are each one of these is 5 discs, because there's, or is it 6? One? No, it's 5 discs. So this is a 15 disc set. That's Fellowship. Here's Two Towers. So Daniel Tosh, here's Return of the King, performed, and he asked if anyone had seen Fellowship of the Ring. And he was doing like a joke about nerds and Lord of the Rings and stuff. And he found out that I had seen it 4 times. And he did like show of hands. Who's seen it once, who's seen it twice, and I was the last one with my hand up. And I proceeded to get made fun of for a few minutes by Daniel Tosh for being a huge Tolkien nerd. And I have the 4K set. Yes, I do have both. I don't have a lot of movies that I have in a ton of formats, unless it's Hong Kong films, because I'm actually deliberately trying to collect as many formats as possible of Hong Kong films for various reasons. Building an archive of those films, hopefully making that a publicly accessible thing as like a library at some point. We'll see, still in the works. But my parents got me this for Christmas, and my son and I watched Return of the King recently, and it looks so freaking good. This has the extended and theatrical versions, if I'm not mistaken. Which is great because, I mean, obviously the extended versions are bust when I watch Lord of the Rings, but I haven't seen the theatrical versions in quite a long time. Perhaps can't even remember the last time I saw them, so it's cool to know that I have them in case. And then, I'm not gonna lie, I love the Hobbit movies. I don't care. Haters be damned. I really love these movies. The extended editions are very, very good. My son and I just watched the extended edition of Battle of the Five Armies, which is rated R, which is like, don't tell his mom that was his first R-rated movie. It's so much better than the theatrical version. It's so dark and violent and witchy. It's like this epic medieval, like black magic fantasy film. I love the Dol Guldur stuff, like the whole, if you don't know, if you're not like a big Tolkien fan, if you only know like the films and stuff, a lot of the material that's in the Hobbit films that is not in the book, actually, nearly all of it. There's only one thing I can think of that was an invention of Peter Jackson. So this is An Unexpected Journey, the first film. Here is The Desolation of Smaug, great movie. I love Thranduil, too. He's like one of my favorite characters in the Tolkienverse, and the fact that he gets a lot of screen time in these films, I really appreciate. If you don't know who Thranduil is, he's Legolas's dad. He's the king of the Sylvan Elves, the Mirkwood Elves, the Sindar, who live there, and you also might not know, if you're not a big Lord of the Rings / Tolkien nerd like I am, that Thranduil and the dwarves actually fight Sauron at the same time that the men in Gondor are fighting them, while Frodo and Sam are taking the ring into Mordor. And that's just it's not something that's like a big part of the books or the movies. It's mentioned in the appendices, but I want that movie where the Mirkwood Elves team up with the dwarves and have this epic battle against the orcs and stuff, because Sauron's forces are not just coming out towards Gondor, they're also moving north to attack that part of Middle-earth. Anyway, a lot of the stuff that was added to the Hobbit movies that a lot of people find to be superfluous or think is an invention of Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh and the other, Philippa Bowen, I believe her name is the other screenwriter, it's actually from the appendices. And Tolkien wrote all that stuff as connective tissue between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, because he wrote Lord of the Rings, obviously, after The Hobbit and was building out the world. And so what they're doing is adding that stuff into the primary narrative of the film so that it connects more directly to the Lord of the Rings films. And I think they did that really, really well, and I'm a big fan of those movies. Let's get into some other stuff. Should we do horror first? Here's just a random thing that I have. It's just the Star Trek Original Motion Picture Collection. This is another one that was given to me by F.J. DeSanto very recently. I know he's a big Trekkie. I watched Star Trek as a kid when it was on. I remember watching Deep Space Nine and really liking it. And also Next Generation, the Captain Picard one. I don't know the original show as well. I've seen some of these movies, but not a lot of them. As you can see, they're in these slim cases here. And so this is exciting for me because it will allow me an entry into the world of Star Trek, and I can get deeper into those films in that cinematic universe. Let's go into more kind of like mainstream American cinema. These aren't like terribly well organized, so let's just go for it. I got the Rocky films. You might not know that I was born in Philadelphia, and I'm originally from South Jersey. I grew up not that far from Philadelphia, so these films were huge when I was a kid. They were on TV like all the time. When I was in elementary school, here's some more lore about me that's fun and kind of embarrassing. When Rocky 5 came out, which a lot of people really don't like, I freaking loved that movie. I was only like 8 or whatever, right? I loved that movie. I loved it so much that I turned it into a play, and I made my classmates perform it with me. And we did like an actual performance in my classroom. I think I was in like 2nd grade or something, or 3rd grade. So this is called the Rocky Heavyweight Collection. So you have the slipcase here, and then you pop it out in Philadelphia Art Museum, which I loved as a kid, and I went there a lot. My favorite Rocky movie, perhaps somewhat controversially, is the 3rd one with Clubber Lang. I absolutely love that movie. This has the, this is a 6-film set, so it has the original 5, and then it has the Rocky Balboa movie. The Creed films are not in here. I don't know if there's a set that has the Creed films in them as well. But speaking of Stallone, Rambo, hell yeah. I just rewatched First Blood not that long ago. Great movie. It's so good. A 2nd one, amazing. 3rd one, ridiculous and amazing. And then the 4th one is just pure, like just blood-soaked, head-exploding, absolute violent chaos. So, what's not to love about the Rambo series? I did not like the 5th one. I really struggled with the 5th one. So, what else do we have? Oh, Behave. The Austin Powers. I just crack up looking at it. This is not much of a box set, but it is a 3-film collection, so I just thought I would show that to you. Everything about these movies kills me. Oh, there you are. I'm sorry, do I know you? No, but that's where you are. You're there. So there's a store in Los Angeles called Wild Birds Unlimited, where they sell birds. But every time I see it, I hear the Austin Powers voice in my head. Oh, behave. Another gift from my friend Mike, we got the Batman anthology from the 1989 to 1997. So these are the Batman films that I grew up on. The first Batman film, if you don't know, is one of the most, if maybe not the most important films of my life. It was my first favorite movie. It was the movie that made me obsessed with movies. It's still a movie that I absolutely love. I have multiple versions of this too. So I have it in this set, and then I have like a standalone edition of it too. Here's Batman Returns. As you can see, they come in these slim cases here. Then we have Batman Forever, and then Batman Robin, which I really like this movie, and I know that's ridiculous. I actually talked to F.J. DeSanto. When I interviewed F.J. DeSanto, most recently, if you're interested in hearing that interview, go to my channel, check it out. It's the most recent interview I've done. He worked on this film. It was the first movie he worked on when he got hired out of grad school to work for the producers of the Batman films. And I told him I loved it, and he said, well, somebody has to. So I really, really do love that movie. And I just like the ridiculousness of it, the tongue-in-cheek nature of it, the absurdity of it. And this is a cool case, too, because you can see it kind of pulls off at the top there. So that is the Batman collection. We have Beverly Hills Cop films in this big VHS case, which I got this for like $10 or something. And I was like, this is really cool. I gotta buy it. I don't know. I mostly just wanted the first film. As you can see, it's not like the inside of the case is not great. It opens up, but then it's just the 3 films are stacked on top of each other here. But I love the first Beverly Hills Cop movie. Like, I love it. The second one is fun. I don't think it's as good, but it's Tony Scott. It's like a fun action film. And then the third one, again, I don't think is as bad as people say it is. It's not a great film, but it's not a terrible film either. Next we have actually a set that I rewatch basically every year. I'm a huge fan of this filmmaker. It's the Neil Blomkamp first 3 films. So District 9, Elysium, Chappie. I got this again for like maybe $10, $15 at Best Buy, not long after Chappie came out. And I'm a huge fan of Neil Blomkamp. I love these films so much, and like I said, I rewatch them every year. I just think they're incredible. The combination of, like, I'm a huge cyberpunk fan. I also really like body horror, David Cronenberg, like that kind of stuff, and these films combine this really like gritty, realistic vision of cyberpunk dystopias with a lot of political and social themes, and also like really gruesome elements of body horror. And so they're right on the edge of being like full-blown nasty horror films, but they're really more of like cyberpunk kind of action thrillers. And the uniqueness of the way that he combines those elements as a a storyteller. I just think I love it. And there's like a whole booklet in here, as you can see, that's like part of the set. It's like into the spine of the set, and there's District 9 and Elysium are in the back here, and there's a ton of bonus material on these releases, so you can learn all about the making of the films, lots of really cool behind the scenes footage and stuff. So that's a great set that I really love. We have the Harry Potter films here. I started reading the Harry Potter books when I was like 16, loved them, big fan of the series, and my son is a big fan of the series. My wife really likes Harry Potter. So, the less that's said about J.K. Rowling, I think probably the better, unfortunately, but we do have the Harry Potter film set here. I recently reread all of the books with my son. It was fun to dig out like the old copies and stuff and go down memory lane with them. And it was interesting rewatching the films too, because as I discovered, for me personally, and I know that I am in the minority here, but I found that a lot of them are not particularly good adaptations. And I remember like when the first couple came out making fun of them, and now rewatching them realizing that they're kind of among my favorite in the series. Obviously, Alfonso Cuarón directed the third one, arguably the best film in the series. The sixth film is probably my favorite. It's a really funny movie, and I also think it's, other than the Cuarón film, I think it's the only one that makes any effort to adapt the language of literature to the language of cinema and to make a unique piece that's not just like a $200 million Cliff Note version of the book. But the first two have a magic to them that is missing from the rest of the films. Part of that is the John Williams score. But the way that Chris Columbus, Alfonso Cuarón grounded them in this really fantastic and I think really radical way. But then he only directed one of them, so you don't have his magic in the rest of the series, and so that kind of just dissipates, right? But Chris Columbus approached them in a way that was really kind of like Spielbergian, like E.T. I don't know, I really like his approach. The older I get, the more I appreciate it. I also think that Tim Burton should have directed the entire series, or Guillermo del Toro, but that's neither here nor there. If you watch this channel, you know I'm a huge Lethal Weapon fan, so this is actually the Canadian edition of this release, which is why it has the 15 rating here. And one of the things I like about this set is it has this outer slipcase, and then that pops off, and then you have this inner box. That's what she said, which is a hard case. And then the films pop out there. Let's Lethal Weapon 4. So here we have the original. I watch this movie at least once every year because it's a Christmas rewatch for me every year. But there have been years where I've watched it maybe like 5-6 times in a year. As you can see, the discs are not anything to write home about here, but that doesn't really bother me. Here we have the second film, Diplomatic Immunity. Great movie. The film that introduced me to the series, and another controversial opinion, a movie I absolutely love, primarily for nostalgic reasons, Lethal Weapon 3. This is the first one I saw. This one came out when I was, I think, like 8 or maybe 10. And I thought Joe Pesci was so funny. I loved the dynamic between Riggs and Murtaugh. I just really liked this movie as a kid, and that's what made me go watch the other ones and fall in love with the series. And then Lethal Weapon 4, which has Chris Rock in it. Maybe my favorite stand-up comedian. The only stand-up comedian I think I've gone and seen live in like a proper setting with like deliberately like bought a ticket and gone to the show and stuff like that. I'm a huge Chris Rock fan, but I love this series. There's such great films, and the first one, like I said, is a movie I rewatch every year for the Yuletide, for the holiday season. And actually, speaking of 80s action films that get rewatched every year at Christmas, we might as well show off. This is another thing that F.J. DeSanto gave. This is like my tour of the F.J. DeSanto collection, really. This very shiny, die-hard, first 3 Die Hard films. There's 5 of them now. The less that is said about the 5th one, I think, the better we'll all be. And this is a DVD set. So we have the first one here, classic film. Every time I drive down Olympic and I see Nakatomi Plaza there, I get excited. And then we have the second film, which, again, controversial hot take, I think is just as good as the first one. I know, I have so many bad controversial hot takes, but I love this movie. And I watch the second one and the first one every year at Christmas. And then we have Die Hard with a Vengeance, which a lot of people, this is like either their favorite or second favorite in the series. I don't like this one quite as much as I like the first two, but it is a fun film. These are 2 disc releases too, it's just nice. So you can see they have this kind of thing here. So there is the Die Hard, it's called the Ultimate Collection. And these look really good. I mean, I own the first Die Hard on Blu-ray in addition to having that set, but I watch the second one every year on that DVD. And it looks quite fantastic. So let's do some more American films kind of from the same era. We got the Indiana Jones set. Here's the first 4 films. This is just the Blu-ray. I know these were released on 4K. Was the 4K controversial? Can't remember. Raiders, I've watched a couple times with my kids. They really love that film. Temple of Doom, I think, is a little too scary for them still. They're like a little young. I rewatched Temple of Doom recently and really loved it. It's such an interesting and bizarre film. And then obviously The Last Crusade is classic. Crystal Skull I haven't seen in maybe like 10 years. I've been meaning to rewatch it because I watched a ton of Spielberg movies last year, but I have not revisited that film in quite a while. Back to the Future set. Hell yeah. How can you not love it? I mean, I grew up on these films like I think a lot of people did. And so the third one is, okay, I rewatched the third one recently. It's fun. I watched them all with my kids. And we had a lot of fun revisiting that. I think this is probably bonus material here. But yeah, I mean, the first one is just so good. And the other two are good, successful sequels that allowed the series to continue to live in the imagination of the fans. But the first one is just, it's so good. I'm just going to have some more coffee here. Try to avoid stabbing myself in the eye with my spoon. Another F.J. DeSanto gift to me. This is a Mad Max collection. So this is the first 3 films in the Mad Max series. I rewatched the first one maybe a month or 2 ago. Good Lord, that movie is amazing. It is so good. So when you take off the cover, there's this on the inside of the top part of the cover here. It's like a tin box. And then we get into this is the release. And it's got Mad Max. It's got Road Warrior, and then it's got Beyond Thunderdome. So I do want to complete my rewatch of those since I rewatched the first one again recently. The first one is just, it's so good. It like the car stunts, the originality of it, the weirdness of it, the violence of it, the tension of it, the performances. Is such a good movie. I have 2 Seagal sets here, which kind of have overlap. They have overlapping films. This is another Canadian edition, as you can see with the ratings here. Mike gave me this one for my birthday, I think last year, and then this one is one I picked up myself. Above the Law, Under Siege, and Under Siege 2. On this set, this does have a slipcase, as you can see, that pops out there, and then it's just got the discs on the inside, as you can see. And then we also have this set, which it has the 2 Under Siege movies, Above the Law, but then it also has Hard to Kill and Executive Decision. Hard to Kill is a really fun movie. My favorite Seagal movie, so this is part 1, as you can see there. Maybe this is controversial, but I seriously doubt it, because I think this is, like, a lot of people think this is among his best films, is Out for Justice. Obviously, Under Siege is a great film. Above the Law is a very good movie. That first run of Seagal films, his first maybe 9 movies, they're just all so good. They really are. I mean, like, as B action films, Seagal had a great run. The Cornetto trilogy. Love it. How can you not love it? Shaun of the Dead I saw when it first came out, and it's been a favorite of mine since then. I've seen it so many times. Hot Fuzz is a great movie. The World's End I did not catch when it was first out, but I have watched it several times since it came out, and I think is a great movie, and I really enjoy it. I have the Matrix trilogy on Blu-ray, and I realized I brought Matrix Resurrections instead of the Matrix trilogy as part of my collection to show you. But suffice it to say, it's basically like this, except it has the Matrix cover on it, and it has a slipcase, and you pull it out, and it has the 3 Matrix films in it. I'm a huge Matrix fan. I even have a fan theory about the Matrix movies, where I think people are watching them incorrectly and understanding them incorrectly, and that's why people don't like the second and third ones. I love the second and third. The third one, I think, it's an amazing movie and highly underrated. And so maybe one day I'll divulge my fan theory to you. We got X-Men here. This is just the first 2 films, but I think it's a 4-disc release. The first 2 X-Men films are excellent. Third one we shall not discuss. And then First Class I actually really, really like. I'm not a big fan of the other more recent X-Men films, but I really like First Class a lot, because it's basically like a 60s Bond movie as an X-Men movie. So here's the first film on 2 discs. And then 2 discs for the second film, X2, which is, I mean, I would argue that both of these are among the best comic book films of that era, and maybe even, top 25 ever. So there you have the X-Men films. Let's do some horror, and then we'll get into some other stuff. Here we have Nightmare on Elm Street. This was another thing that was given to me by Mike. Thank you, Mike, who has given me a lot of Blu-ray box sets, as you can see here. I think I may have pushed a button on the microwave accidentally with one of the box sets as I'm piling them up on the counter, if you heard a beeping noise. So the first Nightmare film I've seen probably around like 10 times, and I love that movie. I had never seen any of the other films in this series until maybe like 3 or 4 years ago that Mike gave me this set. And honestly, I did not really care for Freddy's Dead. But all the other films in the series, I really did enjoy. The second one is such a great, weird movie about, homoeroticism and repressed homosexuality and, toxic masculinity and stuff like that. Third one, Dream Warriors, incredible film. Such a bizarre and imaginative movie. And that movie, I think, really opens up the potential of what Wes Craven created to be very surreal and strange and very bold in the imagery. And then the fourth one and the fifth ones continue in that vein with just totally whacked out, bizarre imagery. And then the new Nightmare, the Wes Craven, the film that Wes Craven came back for, I really liked as well. Wes Craven's New Nightmare, it's called, which predates Scream, if I'm not mistaken, and is more or less the same concept, and which he also directed, right? And speaking of Scream, ta-da! I just have the Blu-ray set for the first 3 Scream movies. I'm a huge fan of the whole series. I have not seen Scream 7, but the first 6 movies, I really think they're all very, very good films, and I think it's a very high-quality series. The first one is absolutely classic. Second one, I think, is almost as good. Third one is enjoyable. I do think it drags a bit in parts, but I don't think it's as bad as some people think it is. Fourth one is very good again, and then the fifth and sixth ones I really like. There's just some amazing sequences and some great stuff in those movies. So, continuing with the horror, this is the Scream Factory, I think, Shout Factory, Scream Factory, whatever it is, 4K Halloween 1995 to 2002 collection. I have the first 8 Halloween films on Shout Factory Blu-ray 4K dual format, like in these cases and stuff, but these 3, for whatever reason, came as a box set, and the other ones are individual releases. So we have The Curse of Michael Myers, which is Halloween 6, which is a movie I really like. I just rewatched this recently. It's such an interesting film. It's a really interesting take on the character and the mythology of the Halloween world. And obviously the John Carpenter music is just hits all the nostalgia buttons for me. And this has multiple cuts on it too, if I'm not mistaken. So it's multiple 4K discs plus a Blu-ray there. And then we have Halloween H2O, which maybe somewhat controversially is one of my least favorite films in the series. It's not a bad movie, but this is what I struggle with regard to this film, is that this movie feels like it's trying to catch up with the 90s wave of slasher films like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer and stuff like that. And in doing that, it feels like it loses its identity as a Halloween film. And it rather than embodying a kind of legacy of Halloween and really being a Halloween film, it feels like a 90s slasher that's just taking these characters from the Halloween world and doing its own thing. It's not a bad movie. I cannot emphasize that enough. But there's a kind of a secret sauce. There's a vibe. The Halloween vibe is missing from that film. And then we have Halloween Resurrection, which is a film that a lot of people really dislike, but I actually really enjoy this film. It's a really fun, dumb slasher film. It also has Busta Rhymes doing kung fu, and electrocuting Michael Myers on the dick. So, and that's, perhaps the only film ever made in which Busta Rhymes electrocutes someone on the dick. So, for that reason alone, it is worth owning. I have the Universal Classic Monsters Essential Collection on Blu-ray. Fun fact for you, this was my first ever Father's Day present. My older son gave it to me when he was a month old, so I think my wife may have had something to do with me getting this. I grew up loving these films. My dad is a big Universal Monster fan, and so we watched Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Mummy, like all those movies together when I was a kid, like on VHS and stuff. And so I just thought it would be really fun to own these films. And the first Frankenstein, the 1931 Frankenstein, is, I think, maybe the best horror film ever made, maybe my favorite horror film. Definitely one of my favorite movies. It's just so, I really like the packaging here too, with like the poster and the image from the film, and then the disc is in the little sleeve here. And here we have the Boris Karloff Mummy, which is, I'm a big fan of the Mummy franchise. Like, I love the Brendan Fraser ones. I love this one. This movie is so funny. Claude Rains' Invisible Man, so good. Another comedy classic, Bride of Frankenstein. We got Lon Chaney the Wolfman. We got Phantom of the Opera. Creature from the Black Lagoon. The original Mummy is essentially a remake of Dracula. I think it came out a year later. Was it a year or 2 years later? Is it 32 or 33? It should say it here somewhere, shouldn't it? Well, potato. It's essentially the same story, but I think it's a much better film. And that's not to say that, obviously, I prefer the vampire mythology to the mummy mythology. I think it's a better directed film, and it has better atmosphere. And, obviously, Bela Lugosi is incredible in Dracula, but Boris Karloff is fantastic as the mummy, and that's a great, great movie. So what else do we have here? The Predator collection. So this is 4K and Blu-ray dual format. This includes the first 4 Predator films. Predator, obviously an all-time classic. Predator 2, my favorite film in the series. Another controversial hot take. Sorry, guys. I guess someone can steal these digital downloads if you want. I've never bothered to do anything with that. So you can see it's Blu-ray and 4K dual format. I really like the third Predator film, Predators. That's a really well-done movie and a really entertaining and fun film. I love Lawrence Fishburne as like the Colonel Kurtz, totally crazy character on this alien planet. The Predator, it's a funny movie. I do like Shane Black quite a bit. It's so dumb. If you kind of turn off your brain and just allow yourself to be entertained by it, I think it's a pretty fun movie. I do get why people don't really like it that much. It's definitely not my favorite in this series. I really liked the most recent ones. I really liked Prey. Just what a good movie, dude. Prey is so good. And then Badlands. I really fucking liked that movie, too. And I was kind of surprised it's PG-13 because it's really violent, but all the blood is like weird alien creature blood, so it's not like a graphic real blood or something stupid like that. All right, so we got one more. I think there's one more American film set, and then we'll get into some European and art house and foreign stuff. Because European and foreign are so different for people in the United States. This is the Tarantino 20 set, which I got when it first came out. I'm a huge Tarantino fan, which I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, and I understand that. He does make himself very unlikable a lot of times when he does interviews and stuff like that. I think he does it on purpose. I think he's trolling people. But whatever, it is what it is. I love his movies, and that, Pulp Fiction is, along with Batman, as I said, maybe the most important film in my life. It's the movie that made me really start seriously thinking about wanting to be involved in movies, writing movies, directing movies. Saw it when I was in high school. Really was like a life-changing film for me. So here we have all the discs, as you can see. This includes, let me open this up here. There's Hans Landa. So these are your Reservoir Dogs. And True Romance is in here, Jackie Brown, Pulp Fiction. And then you have the 2 Kill Bill movies, and Death Proof, Inglourious Bastards, and then bonus material. Fun fact about this, actually, one of the guys who's interviewed in the documentaries that are included in here, his name is Mark Schwartz. He was one of my professors when I went to film school. So I learned screenwriting from that guy. I forgot about this because I put it on the floor because it was big enough that I couldn't fit it on my little stand with my other. Here's the Friday the 13th set from Scream Factory, Shop Factory. This is a Blu-ray set that has all of the films thus far that has been produced in the series. Yeah, there was like some kind of tape or something on this when I got it, so it ripped part of the cover off there when I opened it, but whatever. I have it like this on the shelf, so it's not like I'm looking at this all day long. I have the Jason Goes to Hell on 4K, but all the rest I just have on Blu-ray. As you can see here, there's a booklet, there's bonus material, documentaries and stuff like that, and then it's got the the original run of films, plus Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, Freddy vs. Jason, the remake from 2008, 2009, whatever that was. And they're in slim cases here. One of my favorite film series. I'm actually in the middle of a rewatch right now. I watched the first 7 again, so I got to watch Manhattan, and then Jason Goes to Hell I just watched because I got the 4K, and then I'll do 10 and whatever. But I love these movies. I've seen the whole series probably 5 or 6 times. A big fan, and I saw the first one and the 6th one somewhat randomly when I was young, like too young to see them. They scared the shit out of me. And so these films have been part of my life for quite a long time. So you guys hear me talk a lot about Fellini on this channel and on Twitter and all the other places that I'm active in the social media sphere. Here is the Fellini Criterion set. This was a birthday present, I think, or Christmas, that I got during COVID, if I'm not mistaken, or around that time. There's the front. This is the back, obviously. There's the front. And so it lifts off like this. It looks like a vinyl box set. When I got it, when this was handed to me to open, I was like, this feels like a vinyl box set. And I was like, no, it's the Fellini box set. Yes. So this is what you see when you open it. And then there's like, here we go. So this is where the movies are. As you can see, there's kind of 2 sides, and there she is. If you don't know, this is Fellini's wife, who's in several of his films. Now, the only thing about this set that I find frustrating is the films actually tend to kind of slide out of the casing if you're not holding it very carefully. But here we go. I don't know if you can even see that. And it's, oh, yeah, see, there you go. They're very, very slippery. I don't know if it's because they didn't like properly glue. That was 8.5. That went flying. Glue the bottom of the thing together. I'm not entirely sure why this happens. Let me try to hold it more carefully. And then here's the second page in this thing. So this set comes with a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 Fellini films plus a documentary, so 15 films. Altogether, it has Variety Lights, The White Sheik, I Vitellone, La Strada, I Bidone, Nights of Cabiria, La Dolce Vita, arguably my favorite movie of all time, 8.5. A lot of people will say 8.5 is one of the greatest films of all time and the best film ever made about filmmaking. And then we also have Juliet of the Spirits, which was Fellini's I'm Doing Acid and Making Whacked Out Movies movie. Satyricon, which is a movie I really love. A lot of people find it too psychotic and extreme. Roma, Amarcord, and The Ship Sails On, Intervista, and then Marcello Mastroianni, I Remember, which is a documentary about that guy right there, who is very frequently associated with Fellini as being the star of many of his films, and also kind of Fellini's like proxy in 8.5. So then you have a guide to the films of Fellini, which is sitting underneath the discs here, and then also the Essential Fellini Essays. And this, if I'm not mistaken, is this the one? It might actually be. So this is a whole, yeah, as you can see here, like the whole really long with all these, yeah, amazing, like divine for a fan of Fellini. I think I'm misremembering. I think it's the Amarcord standalone Blu-ray release from Criterion, which I also have, that actually has like Fellini's kind of autobiographical piece in it. So this is a guide to the films of Fellini, kind of explaining everything about the movies and stuff like that, and watching notes and whatever else. And Fellini writes about like growing up and his experience in his hometown of Rimini or however you pronounce it. And yeah, it's an amazing piece, and I highly recommend it. And he also, if I'm not mistaken, he says, he lists the address of the house that he grew up in, so you can go and look at it on Google Earth. It's really cool. So we're going to Europe now, obviously, with Fellini. The Marseille trilogy by Marcel Pagnol, who produced these films, and I think wrote them. I don't think he directed them. He didn't direct all of them. These are 3 of the best movies ever made. And you might think I'm being hyperbolic. I'm really not. These are the definition of a certain type of cinema, which is beautiful, sad, romantic, funny, and very human. These are very early films. They came out in 31, 32, and 36. And it's a combination of sound stages and location shooting. So you actually see like Marseille, the city, the docks, the countryside in the 1930s. Really beautiful and incredible. And so these films follow multiple generations of 2 families in Marseille and over the course of whatever, like 6-7 hours of films, and each one is named after a different one of the principal characters. So Marius is the first film here, and then we have Fanny, and then the final film is Cesar. And these are just really, really beautiful, profound, transcendent pieces of humanist art that I really highly recommend to anyone who is a fan of cinema, novels, whatever. They were originally, I think, plays, and then Pagnol, as a producer, adapted them into cinema. So this is the Criterion set. Really, really transcendent, beautiful, incredible films. Here we have, this is the Corzone Artificial Eye Roy Andersson collection. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 films in it. And Roy Andersson is a Swedish filmmaker. Check this out. How cool is that? That is one of the coolest things, I think, on any physical media release ever. Roy Andersson started with a Swedish love story in the 70s, which is this kind of like realist drama. And then he made very bizarre, surreal kind of omnibus films with like a bunch of short films of just like very weird, highly stylized segments that are highly metaphorical and surreal, and that I found to be like overwhelmingly emotionally profound. Like very funny, kind of sad, wry humanist films, but that also have this really deep tragedy to them that really like blew me away emotionally. This is a UK release, and this was actually sent to me by Andrew Amphlett of Amphlett Reviews. So if you want to go and follow him on YouTube and various other social media outlets. But these films are unlike anything I've ever seen, and really just powerful, great, incredible cinema. And you know, much like the Marseille trilogy, I recommend to everyone to try to track down these films and see them. The films are A Swedish Love Story, Songs from the Second Floor, incredible movie, You the Living, incredible movie, A Pigeon Sat on a Branch Reflecting on Existence, maybe my favorite of the bunch, About Endlessness, and then Being a Human Person, which I believe is a documentary about Roy Andersson. I haven't watched that one yet. I have the Zulawski, the Andrzej Zulawski. This is the Eureka 3-film set, Polish filmmaker. This is a hard case set. This is a UK release, and it has The Third Part of the Night, The Devil, and On the Silver Globe on it. This is the director of Possession, which is, I imagine, what most people would know him as. I thought The Third Part of the Night and The Devil were both really fantastic, bizarre movies. He has such a unique eye. These are very dark, bizarre films, as I'm sure you would imagine from, you know, the director of Possession, if you know anything about that film and its reputation. And this is on the Silver Globe, which is a sci-fi film, which I think was like never finished. Like they didn't finish it when they first started filming it. They started making it in the 70s, and it was unfinished. And then I think in the 80s he went back to it and recut it to give it more structure and to kind of make what he considered to be like a final version of it, despite the fact that they never did finish, I think, the actual filming of it. And as you can see, there's essays and stuff in here. I mean, Eureka Entertainment does incredible work with everything they put out. So this is a very high quality set and highly recommended. And then we have, let's get into some, actually I got some more Eureka stuff, and then we can do some Radiance sets. I have the Mabuza Lives set. These are German films. Kind of like espionage, like James Bond type of movies from the, what do they think? It's from the 60s, 1960 to 1964. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 films in this set. I think I've watched 2 of these. Really, really, really enjoyed them. So this thing slips off like this. They're just like really fun, outlandish, kind of like over the top. I know obviously 1960 predates Dr. No, so, but like kind of like film noir. They kind of land somewhere in between film noir and this kind of outlandish world of like the Bond type films. And you know, Mabuza is a very famous character, so, and I mean, I might be pronouncing that correctly. I hope that I am. I did do a video about this set before, and someone was like ragging on me for my German pronunciation. I don't speak German, so, you know, it is what it is. There you go. So this is, if you're a big fan of like film noir and Bond and stuff like the Avengers, like the original, you know, Emma Peel, John Steed, Avengers, and those types of things, I highly recommend this set. And speaking of film noir and that kind of like whacked out eccentric espionage from the 1960s, this set is Terror in the Fog, the Wallace Creamy. So these films are kind of like precursors to the Giallo films, the Italian films. They're adapted from the same type of novel that a lot of the Giallo films were adapted from. And they're these kind of like creepy murderer, eccentric mysteries. And like, again, it's called Terror in the Fog because they're like very British, lots of fog. One of them takes place in a Scottish castle, if I remember correctly. I think I watched 3 of the films in this. I love this artwork, dude. It's so, so good. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 films in this set. The Strangler of Blackmore Castle takes place in, like, I think a castle in Scotland. And just, like, wreathed in fog. And the Curse of the Yellow Snake, I think, is a London movie, again, with a lot of fog and, like, an underground, like, a mysterious cult that's, like, trying to kill these people. Just really fun films, if you are a fan of that style of cinema, which obviously I am. There's 2 cases in here, plus the booklet, as you can see. That's the Curse of the Yellow Snake there. And then there's the Mad Executioners, which is another one of the films. And then I'm guessing this is, Strangler of Blackmore Castle there. I just loved that movie, dude. Because it's like, it's a really fun mystery with like this creepy castle with like doors hidden in the walls and secret chambers. But it's very funny and kind of tongue-in-cheek too. Really, like if you are a fan of, like I said, and I know I'm just kind of like repeating myself now, but the original Avengers show, you really, really love these movies. And then again, it's also interesting because, you know, I know a lot of people are huge Giallo fans, and these are, like I said, they're based on the same series of, or like type of novel. And I think some of the stories in these films were also made into Giallo films. There's a really good documentary on this set, which I watched, explaining the connection between these films and the Giallo films. So check this out. Fantastic set. I loved everything I watched from it so far. Back to Criterion and back to Heartbreak and incredibly sad films. We have the Decalogue. I have not watched every film in this. This is a Polish. It's Krzysztof Kieslowski. These are 10 films that are about an hour long each that are based on the 10 Commandments, but kind of like roughly like thematically inspired by them. They were made for television, and then I do think there's extended versions of a couple of the films that are more like feature length. I've watched the first 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken. And they're just called Decalogue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. As you can see here. The second and third ones, I believe, I found really interesting, intriguing, engaging. I bought this because I watched the Three Colors trilogy, and I really loved that by the same director. And if I'm not mistaken, was it the first film? I'm trying to just see if there's like a little synopsis of what each one is about. But one of the films in this set was one of like the most emotionally devastating things I have ever seen in my life, but in a way that was really profound and felt like this really intense like reckoning and cleansing of the soul. And then the other ones I found to be like really interesting, engaging cinema, but that one, I think it was the first one, just like really fucking like emotionally destroyed me. And in the same way that I would say that like The Sacrifice did, the Tarkovsky film, it was just really transcendently profound and incredible, and I cannot recommend that one highly enough. So I have a couple Radiance films sets here as well. There's only 4 things left. Our video is coming to a close. This is another French set. It's called Hard Boiled. 3 pulp thrillers. I'm reading it backwards. It's in the camera. 3 pulp thrillers by Alain Corneau. I don't speak French. I may be mispronouncing that. I haven't watched these films yet. It's got Police Python, Série Noire, and Le Croix d'Armes. So as you can see, it opens up here, and we have 3 discs. And these are, from what I understand, just kind of like pulpy, hard-boiled genre films. I love crime films. I love pulpy, hard-boiled genre films. So it sounds like something that's right up my alley. And it comes with a book here as well. And there's a fair amount of bonus material on this release. Radiance Films, does really tremendous releases. I have a lot of their box sets of Japanese films, which you will see when I do my separate video on my Japanese box sets. But and those, I've watched pretty much all of their Japanese box sets that I have, and those are really great, like great bonus material, great restorations of the films, just look incredible. So so these are, let me read you a little bit here about, it's on the other side, excuse me. With a debt to Dirty Harry and Jean-Pierre Melville, Alain Corneau directed these 3 tough neo-noirs with a strain of wicked humor. Gangs, cops, criminals, shootings, 2,500 copies that is limited to, so check that out if you are interested. And then we have one more set from Radiance, which I think is a relatively recent release that I got my hands on not too long ago, so it's not even open, as you can see. I'm going to open it right now. It's called Wicked Games, 3 films by Robert Hossein. A prison break, femme fatales, and a genre-defining Western. Robert Hossein, who directed Rafifi, which is a pretty famous film that maybe you'll have heard of. These are in French. Was both behind and in front of the camera, one of French cinema's great unsung stylists. 3 of his finest genre exploits are collected here. And those films are The Wicked Go to Hell, Nude in a White Car. Who hasn't been there before? We've all been nude in a white car before. And The Taste of Violence. So here we go. And I can probably just peel this off the back here. And that's typically what I do with these Radiance things. I take this thing off, and then I just tuck it inside of the case, and then we have the clean artwork on the front and the back, and we pull this out. And here we have The Wicked Go to Hell. But do they? Do they? I've been alive for long enough that I don't think I believe that anymore. Nude in a white car. Not to be cynical. We don't need to go there. But, do they? The Taste of Violence. That looks like a genre-defining Western to me, so that must be the genre-defining Western. And here we go. And then you can see there's a booklet here as well. So these are Wicked Games, 3 films by Robert Hossein. And again, I haven't watched any of these yet. I wish that I had no job and I was like independently wealthy, or I earned money from making YouTube videos and I could just watch movies all day and review these all for you. But sadly, that is not the case, and there are mouths to be fed. And I cannot neglect my own children in favor of doing nothing but watching movies all day. Oh, I mean, I guess I could, but then what kind of person would I be? But I wouldn't go to hell even if I were wicked, because we don't believe that here. This is short films. This is the complete Kenneth Anger Magic Lantern cycle. These are just very bizarre. Kenneth Anger was from Los Angeles, and he made just like weird cult short films inspired by a lot of like kind of witchy beliefs and like mythology. And he was a big influence on Gaspar Noé, Nick Refn, like those people who do like kind of tripped out psychedelic, like dark, violent films like that involve elements of the occult and stuff. Lucifer Rising is probably his most well-known and influential film. I believe that whole movie is on YouTube, but it's a really tripped out but really fucking good movie. The score for that film, interestingly, was originally supposed to be done by Jimmy Page. You can actually find Jimmy Page is the lead guitarist of Led Zeppelin, if you don't know. Jimmy Page and Kenneth Anger met when they were both bidding on books at like Aleister Crowley auction, if I'm not mistaken. And Jimmy Page owned Aleister Crowley's house in Scotland, where he used to perform like magical rituals and stuff like that. And, you know, according to Crowley, opened a portal to the demon world or something like that. Kenneth Anger lived in Jimmy Page's basement at one point, and then they got like a huge argument, like in the streets of London, like reporters were there like taking pictures of it, and then they had like this big falling out. So Jimmy Page made 25 minutes of a score for Lucifer Rising. Lucifer Rising ended up being about 40 minutes long, so the score didn't fit. It wasn't used. You can go and listen to it online. It's really like tripped out kind of sitar music. Bobby Beausoleil ended up doing the final score, which is incredible music and has been reused in other films. He was in the Manson gang, and he wrote and recorded the score, if I'm not mistaken, while he was in prison for the Manson gang crime. So it's a pretty bizarre story and like LA cult connection there. But if you like really tripped out, bizarre, strange, I mean, I think I got this for like $10 at some point. Definitely worth watching. At one point, I had a birthday party, and I used to do themed birthday parties. And the theme of my birthday party was like the psychedelic occult. And so we left out like colored Skittles, like they were acid, and we had like, you know, don't drink the punch and stuff like that. And someone brought a projector, and we played these movies like on the wall and the ceiling and stuff like that. It was pretty trippy and fun. The final thing I have here, speaking of tripped out and weird and psychedelic and cults, the Jodorowsky set, which was given to me actually as a present at that birthday party, now that I'm remembering it. Shout out to my friend Lincoln, who gifted this to me. The Holy Mountain is one of the best fucking movies ever made. This is a DVD set. These films, I think, have been released on 4K now, if I'm not mistaken, which I don't own, would love to own. I don't have unlimited resources, sadly, so I didn't buy it when it came out. But truly, I think The Holy Mountain is one of the most insane movies ever made, and just needs to be seen to be believed. There's the disc there. Jodorowsky, again, like Kenneth Anger, a huge influence on Gaspar Noé and Nick Winding-Refn. And I think, wasn't he like, if I remember correctly, was Jodorowsky on the set of Only God Forgives doing like tarot readings or something like that? There's a strong connection between Jodorowsky and Refn. Jodorowsky's from Argentina, but these films are, if I'm not mistaken, both Holy Mountain and El Topo are Mexican films. They were made in Mexico. So El Topo, this is like a tripped out, super bizarre Western. I think George Harrison and John Lennon were involved in producing this film, but they gave him money. Or maybe they saw this film and were really impressed by it, and they gave him money for The Holy Mountain. I don't remember the exact story there. This is Fondo Elise. I think this is a short film. It's been, this is 96 minutes. Two of these films, La Cravate and Fondo Elise, I haven't watched in probably 20 years. I did watch them when I first got into Jodorowsky, which is probably about 2006 or so. Thanks to my friend John. Shout out to John, who first told me about Jodorowsky. And also John first told me about Tarkovsky. So I have John to thank for two really incredible filmmakers. And then there's the CD soundtrack for Holy Mountain and El Topo as part of this set. So that's the Jodorowsky set. So that is my first ever collection video, taking you through one part of my collection. These films are like all out of order too, which is the box sets of non-Japanese, non-Hong Kong films. I thank you so much for watching. It's been a long ass video. Thanks for persevering. We'll see you next time.